This first print with the 3 egg-shaped objects actually wound up reminding me of my 3 great aunts, my great-grandmother too. There were 3 sisters, and they were born and raised in England. It was May, Daisy, and Violet. Violet was my great-grandmother, the mother of my grandmother and my father's mother. Daisy married and moved to Australia. May stayed in England and married and stayed there. And Violet married and wound up in Canada. This next intaglio, which I call For Michael. Michael was my uncle, my father's brother. He led a very public life, and in some ways he also led a singular life. He served as an MP and later senator, and was one of the longest serving parliamentarians in the House of Commons and in the Senate when he died, which was a few years ago now. But he died about 4 years before these prints were made. So when I did the singular egg on a very high pedestal with the open doors, it sort of reminded me of him. This intaglio print reminded me of my great-grandparents' family, my father's mother's family. They were actually settled in Deep Brook, Nova Scotia. The Curfeys lived there, and I remember their old house as a young child and how after the family died it slowly fell into disrepair. The house is now long gone, but whenever I drive by that little area, I often think of them and the family. Esther, George, and Chris, the children. Esther being my grandmother. Violet, my great-grandmother, who had married Frederick Curfey and wound up in Canada. For Tom and Esther, this intaglio etching reminded me actually of my grandparents, my father's parents, and how they were kind of both very strong personalities and sometimes didn't see, quote, eye to eye on things. But anyway, this was, I thought of them when I did this, and they were sort of there as a couple, and I knew them both very much, and actually I knew them and appreciated them very much as excellent grandparents, and so I thought I'd name this intaglio after them. For 1914, this intaglio, with the actual shards and the very sharp edges and kind of the very bare background, kind of reminded me a bit more beyond my family, but some of the things that affected my family quite strongly and profoundly. I guess the First World War, and as it led into the Second World War. I can remember the quotes by the British Foreign Secretary, Sir Edmund Grey, when he said, "The lamps are going out all over Europe. We shall not see them lit again in our time." And really, I think in some ways those lights stayed out until about 1989, and then they kind of flickered on again.
Okay, here we are. So I'm having a rare look and some insight into the behind-the-scenes work by New Brunswick artist William Forrestall. What's it called?
Intaglio.
Okay.
It's a mix of methods of creating images on a plate, a copper plate. You can etch lines in, you can burnish lines, and there's a number of little there are hand tools to manipulate the plate. They're just straight pins to scratch the plate.
Okay, so why don't we have a look at one of them? So which one are you working on right now? Or all of them?
I'm working more or less This one's almost finished. This one's just about finished. I'm going to put one more aquatint down here, darken.
Okay. Then so once these are done, what's the next step in the process?
Well, I hope to get 6 done, and if I can, there's an opening space in a small gallery at St. Thomas University. Put that there.
Here. But I know, I guess it was last week, you were having some issues or some problems with some of the work. Did you work your way through it?
Yeah, I think we're working our way through it. We're continually working our way through it. This is also a new process. It's a new process for me, but also technically it is in some ways an advancement on the traditional process.
Okay, well that's interesting because I know these things, these processes tend to be current for generations,
Yeah, yeah, no. This is Rembrandt did this stuff. This is an ancient medium. However, Robert Van de Peer, who's a printmaster here, has developed and is developing.
It was developed right here?
Yeah, right here. A green way of doing this. In other words, a non-toxic.
Oh, that's great.
And so he's developing ways of using different kinds of waxes and resistance and chemicals. So you don't need toxic acid to eat and things like this. Which is one really great because I don't have to dress in a hazmat suit. We don't have to have huge venting fans.
Yeah, well, you certainly have the green suit, that's for sure.
Yeah, I got this green thing on now. But anyway, actually it's a lot less toxic. I really appreciate that because actually one of the kind of discouragements to using intaglio traditionally was like, you wear face masks and breathe in not.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah.
No, that's not good.
And the more you can minimize that, the better. And this is a process of minimizing it.